Hi, and welcome back to the next video in our series. In this video series, I'm using Revit to turn a pre-existing shed that we created in another series into a tiny home. In past videos, we extended out our shed, moving exterior walls. We've added in additional random components, some that were used and some that were not. We've added in doors, windows, and interior walls. In this video, I'm going to get into the details of creating a thoughtful kitchen and all the little movements that you have to do to get that to work. I'm actually going to start this out by taking everything that's currently in my tiny home in my kitchen and moving it out. So I'm going to take each piece at a time, moving it out of the tiny home. Maybe I'll use it later. I'm actually going to take every cabinet that's already preloaded. I'm just going to delete that, and I am going to start from scratch. My plan for this kitchen is I'm going to make a U-shaped kitchen right about here, trying to take advantage of this exterior window for daylight over a kitchen sink. So let's get started by placing in a couple of base cabinets. That's how all kitchens are made in real life, and that's how we make them in Revit. So in my architecture tab, I went to component, and I'm going to load family. I'm going to go back to my casework folder that I used in previous videos, and I am going to look for some base cabinets that I know I'm going to need. I'm going to try to use some corner cabinets. Sometimes I like these and sometimes I don't. It depends on the application. I did find already a couple. I'm going to look a little bit closer at some other options that I might want to use later. I definitely want to stay away from the vanity and the service cabinets because those are not going to be at the same height. So I'm going to go back up to the top and I am going to choose that corner unit. I'm going to choose that corner unit that said square. Some people like the angled one. I don't prefer that kind, so I'm going to stick to the square corner cabinet. And I know that this is a pretty big cabinet, but before I place it, I'm going to see if it'll let me, it'll let me hit my space bar. So I'm going to hit my space bar to place one corner cabinet there. And I'm going to hit my space bar 3 times to place another corner cabinet here. That's going to make more sense for why I need those later. I know I have some space here. That's not exactly how much space I'm going to need. I'm going to plan a little bit of extra space for a sink in this space. So I'm going to go back to my base cabinets. I'm going to choose a base cabinet with a double sink. I know last time I was using a 42-inch sink. That is way too big for my tiny home. So I'm going to place in a 33-inch cabinet, hoping that I can find a sink that is about 33 inches in width. Oh, and once you know, I accidentally had that other corner cabinet selected when I changed. So it said, hey, you wanted to change that cabinet you selected, right? I actually didn't. So on my keyboard, I'm going to do Control-Z to undo that. And this time I'm going to deselect that corner cabinet. I'm going to try it again. So I'm going to go to Component, I'm going to go to Base Cabinet, and I'm going to load in that 33-inch unit. And I'm going to place in that sink unit. So far, I have my kitchen layout starting to take shape in the form of a U. I often find that the arrow keys work really well until I'm zoomed out too far and they just don't move as closely as I would like. So now I have 3 cabinets placed. I have a sink cabinet and I have 2 corner cabinets. And it actually looks like, if I'm looking really close, those sink cabinets might be inside the wall, but I'm going to leave that for now. I'm going to view it on my 3D view. And yep, it is a little bit inside there, but I'm going to leave this. No, I can't. I just can't leave it. I'm going to take each of these cabinets. I'm going to select them. I'm going to do 1 arrow key movement out at a time. And I'm going to go back here. Yep, now they're in the right spot. I have a little bit of a lip here. That's actually what construction workers use to mount the countertop to. And everything in my kitchen is matching. It's the same color cabinetry, which is what I was hoping for. And now I'm going to start adding in a little bit more here. Now you'd think that I would want to maybe next add another cabinet here, but I actually, in this space, want to add in my stove. So I'm going to look for a smaller stove than I had previously, because this range, as much as I like it, is quite large. Maybe we'll just move it in and see what it looks like. That's actually not so terrible. I think I'll stick with that range just to save on time. And now, next to my range, I always, in my own kitchen at home, enjoy having a little bit of counter space. Now, the problem I'm going to run into is the other thing I wanted to put on this wall was my refrigerator. But I am pretty sure that this massive refrigerator that I had already loaded in at this point, at this point, this refrigerator is not going to fit. And look at that, it just sticks out way too far. So let's see if Revit has a smaller one. I'm going to delete that refrigerator. And I'm going to go into Component. I'm going to go to Load Family. And I'm actually going to leave my base cabinet folder. And I'm going to go back into, yep, you guessed it, Specialty Equipment. In my Specialty Equipment folder, I'm going to go into Domestic. And I'm just going to look to see if there is a smaller refrigerator. This is a refrigerator built in. I'm afraid that one's going to be really big, but I don't know. It might not be super deep. That could be an option. Let's see what's in the high end. I'm looking to see if they have a refrigerator that is labeled countertop depth, which I know is not a super big refrigerator, and I'm just not seeing one. That one's big, these are all very large refrigerators. This one is actually pretty small. I'm just going to load this one and see what it looks like. Oh wow, I have a lot of choices here. So I'm going to stick with this 7 foot tall. Oh, it has a nice countertop depth, and I think I have not quite 3 feet there. So I'm going to actually go with this right hand refrigerator. Hopefully it's swinging the right direction. Again, as in previous videos, I told you I can't do left and right very well. Oh, look at that. That is fitting like a glove. I'm going to hit escape 2 times. Oh, not quite. It's still even a little bit too big because it's overlapping a little bit. I think I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to see if I can maybe fine tune this cabinet. We'll see. Maybe I'll edit that in a little bit, because I cannot have that refrigerator. Oh, it's not overlapping. So I'm going to leave it just like that. Let's check it out in 3D. And this is what it's looking like in 3D at this point. Just trying to recenter it. That will definitely be a good start. I may end up editing this a little bit more to fine tune. I'm going to now add in some countertops to add a part of my cabinet that sticks out for people to sit and eat. So let's go back to the floor plan and let's load in some of those components with the drawers. So I'm going to go up to the top, go to my casework, folders. I'm going to go to the base cabinets, 3 drawers. I'm going to load in some of the 24-inch cabinets. I'm going to line them up here. I do not know if they're going the right direction at this point. I think that they're backwards. I think that blue line indicates the back of it. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to place one in and see what it looks like in 3D. And it's going just exactly the opposite direction, but that's okay. I can fix that pretty easily. I'm going to place another one, and I actually don't want to go out any further because I don't want too narrow of a walkway. So I'm going to hit escape 2 times. I'm going to click on this one. That one is definitely going the wrong direction. And let's see if it worked when I hit my space bar. I have no idea which way it's going. Oh, it is absolutely the wrong way. With it selected, spacebar is not rotating it like I need it to. Let's see if spacebar will work with this one. That one worked. So I'm going to rotate that with my rotate tool. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to choose rotate. I have to choose a starting point. That's saying, hey, this is the front of it. So I'm going to make sure I'm not on the floor when I do this step. That's where I want it to go. And this is the way I need it to rotate. And now, when I go to my 3D view, my drawers are facing inside my kitchen space. So now, I will use my arrow keys to fine-tune the placement of these cabinets and then get them to snap next to each other. There we go. And snap next to each other. And now, in my 3D view, I have a nice U-shaped kitchen, all ready for a countertop and a sink. So let's do that next. I'm going to go back to my floor plan. I'm going to go to component, and this time I'm going to add in a sink. So I'm going to hit escape to drop that component, and I'm going to go to load family. And I need to look now for a sink in my plumbing folder. When we're putting together a kitchen, we do a lot of different folder looking. And I'm really looking for a single kitchen sink. I know that this triple one is going to be way too big. I do not want to add a vanity. Those are all going to be at the wrong height. I do not want this simple round one or that one. I'm going to choose this kitchen sink single, and it is like the perfect size for that 33-inch cabinet. Again, I always like to look to make sure everything is going together well in 3D, and it is. So now I'm going to finagle with the countertops. Probably my least favorite part of adding a kitchen in Revit are the tricky countertops. So let's see how we can do. I'm going to go to my component tool, load family, and I'm going to toggle all the way back to that casework folder. And in my casework folder, I'm going to go to countertops. And I know for sure I'm going to have to choose at least one countertop with a sink hole. That one may work, but I'm going to see if I have a corner one or an L-shaped one with a sink hole. That one may work. I think I'm going to stick with that one for now. And then I'm going to use a different one to get my extension added. So I'm going to put this in the corner. And yes, I know it's not the right size. When I go to 3D, my counter is going over the top of my stove. So let's see if we can get it to work. I'm going to select my counter. I'm scrolling to zoom in, and I'm going to start by checking to see if I can grab this arrow and move it over. Yep, that worked. So here it is in 3D view. I just took that arrow and I slid that edge of the counter to the edge of the stove. Now my sink hole is a little bit in the wrong spot, but before I do that, I'm going to actually extend this out to an overhang. So I'm going to take this end arrow and I am going to extend it out. Yes, I know I'm going too far. I'm going to extend it out to about here. I think that works just great. Now I want to see what I can do with this sink opening. Let's see if I can just scooch that over. That lined up nicely. I'm going to see if I can scooch that over. That lined up nicely. And let's look at it in 3D view again. I'm going to deselect it to really see. Yep, it looks great. I just used those blue arrows to custom slide that sink hole opening to where I need it. So now I know I don't need this anymore. I'm just going to delete it. Now, what about all this space, you might be wondering? Well, in my casework folder, I should have a component that is an island countertop. And we do not want one with a hole in it. This is the one I'm looking for right here. Essentially, when I add this in, I am just getting a giant rectangle. I'm going to see if I can try rotating it. There we go. And I'm going to move it right to the corner there. I know it's not in the right spot yet, but just like my other countertop tool, I can custom reshape this counter. I do not want it to go all the way to the edge. My expectation in a countertop is it does hang over each side, at least on the front, a little bit. And now I don't want to block off the whole walkway, so I'm going to do the same thing almost here. I'm going to add in enough space on the end here so someone could also sit on the end of my kitchen counter. And in my 3D view, here is what my kitchen counter is looking like. I have a nice U-shaped kitchen. Not sure if I love that refrigerator placement, but for right now, I think that's going to work just great. This is a lot of work that I just did, so I am going to make sure that I hit Control S to save my work.